Good morning, YGG fam, or good evening to you guys over in the Philippines and East Asia. Of course, AC, you are back again this week, all
Yes,
recovered
what's up?
now.
What's up? I'm already recovered and I'm back. YGG fam, good day, GMGX to you guys, and we're gonna have a great night, which we're gonna be vibing and happy and cute with an
Yeah,
interesting partner we have here, right?
of course, yeah. I think everybody's very familiar with the Pudgy Penguins IP. If you're at YPS, you would have seen people walking around in some Pudgy Penguins costumes there. Pudgy Penguins was at the club, dancing and chilling with us. Love the PFP, by the way. I need to get myself a virtual Pudgy, but we are here to talk about Vibes, which is a game using the Pudgy Penguins IP, and we're joined by Spencer from the Vibes team. Spencer, how's it going, bud?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Good to see you all, YGG fam. Excited to kind of chat with you guys today, and you know, I'm just bopping the music. I see some penguins, I see some YGG logos. I'm having a good time already.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so awesome to have you here, especially since you're going to be the person that knows pretty much everything about this game, what's coming, why everybody should be diving into it. This isn't our first time around with a TCG, but it's definitely Vibes has a different vibe, obviously, than all the other ones that we're used to. So super stoked to kind of
agree.
dive
And
into this.
very cute one, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
exactly. So before we dive into that here, I do have the trailer kind of queued up on the Epic Store link, which is where everybody's going to want to download the game. Again, you could download straight from the website, but it's much more recommended that you download from Epic. It's just a smoother process, and your antivirus won't flag it, even though there's nothing wrong with the software itself. It's just that's what happens with antivirus. We've seen it with all kinds of different games here in the cryptocurrency space that haven't been on Epic. So yeah, if you guys are going to download the game, you can download it here
on
on.
PC. If you're on Mac, download it from the website.
There you go. Right, like Spencer said, for whatever reason, if you're again, if you're gaming on Mac, first off, what are you doing? But secondly, if you are, download it straight from the website. We will have that link pop up in a second here, but let's just dive into this quick 1 minute trailer before we start really talking about what the game's about. Great trailer from you guys and your team. I'll pull that back down there. And like I said, now we'll dive right into it. So, Spencer, tell us a little bit about yourself and how the Orange Cap Gaming team kind of came to be.
Yeah, so I've kind of got like a weird and wacky path in life. I used to be like a competitive fencer for the U.S., do World Cups and Grand Prix in sports. Shifted over, was doing startup stuff, was a founder at 4 companies, sold 2 of them, venture backed 2 of them, had kind of an interesting arc. Uh, Fell into cryptocurrency, was trading mostly. So I run a trading fund. We're the largest investor in Pudgy Penguins. And, when I was running companies, I used to buy and sell Magic the Gathering trading cards, played a lot of Magic throughout my life. And that was how I funded a lot of my early employees. And when I got into crypto, I was sort of really questing for a game to play in the TCG space that like made me feel the way that Magic did. And I never found my home. I've played all the games here. And so I was talking now, Pudgy they've got this great IP and, we're big investors. And I said, you guys should definitely do a trading card game. Like, this is the thing to do. They're like, yeah, but like, trading card games are complicated. Like, we don't really know how to do it. Like, can you just do it for us? And so that was kind of how OCAP Games got born, was like, sure, why not? And originally I was going to just make a game and hand it off to them and kind of whatever. But we made Vibes and we developed it, and we, played it with over 100 people in testing. And it was just such a hit. We were like, no, we got to spin this out, separate company, raise some separate capital, really do it right, make sure we develop the online game right, cosmetics right, all that jazz. And so, there's we saw gaps in the market, not only in the crypto world for like a really good TCG that people like, but also in the TCG world, right? So the main trading card games that have come out recently in the traditional trading card world are One Piece, Lorcana, Star Wars Unlimited, right? Flesh and Blood. None of those games have online games, which is super weird to me, right? Like, having an online game and a physical game, I think, is really important. Like, my play pattern in Magic is I play a lot online, and maybe 4 times a year I'll go to a paper tournament. But I love going to those paper tournaments. I see my friends I haven't seen in forever. I get to play big things. And so the ability to do both is really important. And we saw too, like, Pokemon has this incredible appeal, right? There's so many people who, like, the #1 trading card game product in the world is Pokemon. It is also the least played trading card game, right? And so you have this thing, which is this beautiful collector's product. All these people that collect Pokemon and don't collect Magic, don't collect any of these other things, right? Just because it's cute. But then you sit down and play the Pokemon game. Have you ever had it? I've heard it's gotten better recently, but it's not the most playable thing, and it's not historically been a very played game, right? And so the idea with this was, well, I think that these trading card games is the best genre of game. The Magic, Hearthstone, that style of game is the best style of game. That's my personal opinion. I'm very biased here, but I believe that very fervently, right? Okay, if you believe that, then how do you introduce new audiences to that style of game, right? A cute collector's audience, but give them a playable game. Like, I think that was kind of our vision. Is like Pokemon, but highly playable, and not only playable like, oh, you could learn it, it's fun, but playable on your 1000th play. Like, is it deep? And so I can talk more about the game design. I realize I've answered a little bit of your question. Should I just kind of keep going on things?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So one of the things for us, and I think this is a pretty nuanced thing, right? So, like, Magic is obviously the foundational game of all of this genre, right? Magic the Gathering kicked off with what trading cards are today. But there's a few things that people always redesign about Magic when they redesign it, right? One of the things is the stack. So essentially, when you play like Magic, there's this thing where you can play cards at any time, right? My turn, your turn, I can play cards anytime. This works really well in paper, but when you make a digital game, it is really annoying. Why? Because you have to make a decision not to play a card every time you could play a card, right? And so this requires a lot of chess clocking back and forth. I don't want to, every single turn in Magic is about 12 decisions of no, I don't want to play this card, right? And it's just a lot of clicking. You see something like Hearthstone completely do away with this concept, right? And when Hearthstone completely did away with this concept, now I can only play cards in my turn, you can only play cards in your turn. The problem with Hearthstone on the 1000th play, like I've hit ranked on Hearthstone a couple of times, is that it's too much RNG, right? Because you don't have those interactive decisions of I can play something at the same time you can play something. It's really, really, really RNG focused, right? And that's, I think, a lot of what the attrition of Hearthstone over time ends up being is like, well, it's fun, it's deep, but I don't feel like I'm winning because of skill, right? And that's been the problem with a lot of the games that have tried to clone Magic and have gotten rid of the stack. The stack is this concept of I can play things anytime. But the thing that I liked about Hearthstone and why I played it in the first place was it really snappy, right? You just play, jam. Like, I really like jammy games, right? Magic takes a little bit too long per game. It's too much clicking back and forth, right? And so what we did is we said, okay, let's try and keep both of these concepts. And so the way that Vibes works is it's my turn, your turn, interaction turn. And so instead of having 12 stacks per turn, there is one of the stack per cycle of my turn, your turn, stack turn, right? And what that allows is for deep, interesting decisions that happen on the stack, deep, interesting gameplay, but it's still pretty snappy, right? It goes back and forth pretty quickly. And what that also is empowered when we see this is like the average Vibes game is about 11 minutes. That's much quicker than the average Magic game, which is closer to 15 or 20. What we also did when we designed it was we wanted to make it really easy for people to learn, right? So in Vibes, there are not keywords really. There's maybe one or two. But if you Magic, if you play it, there's like lifelink, vigilance, haste, trample, right? Like gift a fish, like conspiracy, all these keywords. And you read the card and you're like, okay, now I need to go learn what this term means, right? In Vibes, you'll find that like the text on the card really describes what the card does pretty exactly. You need to know where your ice is, and you need to know kind of a few of the other things of how it works. But what we really optimized for in Vibes 2 was pick it up, sit down. If you can, in the tutorial on our online game, you will be able to finish the first game you start in the tutorial. In Magic, it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to be able to play a game. And we really wanted to optimize for can you learn it faster. Now, will you have full mastery of the game after that period of time? Maybe not, but certainly you'll be able to play. And I think that's the biggest thing is like TCGs have a really steep learning curve, right? Like the first game or two, you're like, I don't really know what's going on. But once you get it, you get into it, it's really sticky, right? So one thing that we've seen from people who have played our online game, we have a pretty crazy statistic. 10% of people that have played, so the game's been out since early December. 10% of people who have played one game have played 100 games.
Wow. That's like you're saying, that's very sticky, right? To have that many.
It's pretty crazy. It's a lot of games. I mean, 100 games at 11 minutes, right? Is like 18 hours in a month and a half. There's many people who have played a lot more than that. We have I think it's over 15 people now that have played over 500 games.
Wow.
And so, we've seen a really good player reception of this game, right? And one of the interesting things too is it's not just crypto. Like I tapped a lot of my friends from the trading card world from back when I used to buy and sell trading cards. Our head of partnerships, Roland Chang, is 2-time world champion at Magic the Gathering in Vintage and Legacy. And he, he's brought a lot of our partnerships. Like we're partnered with the major grading companies, PSA and CGC. So if you like graded cards, you can go there. We're also partnered with eBay. On the physical side, we're distributed by Star City Games, which is the largest organizer of Magic tournaments in the United States. And so we have a couple of cool announcements coming up around some other partnerships. But like, our audience is not just kind of crypto degens, right? It's real trading card players from around the world. A lot of Magic players, a lot of honestly One Piece players that are looking for new homes, a lot of Hearthstone players, etc. But I mean, certainly there are a lot of Magic crypto, parallel players as well, right? We see Fino is streaming for like 12 hours yesterday. I kept watching his stream. He's like, this is the last one. I was like, all right, I'll head out and I'll open up Abstract like a few hours later, and he's still going.
Yeah.
So he was streaming a bunch yesterday. We've got Jeremy as well, who's I know is a big parallel player as well. So definitely, as you explore the meta, like you'll see it's actually pretty deep and pretty interesting gameplay. And so that's bringing over a lot of players, I think.
Yeah. I'm just gonna circle back here, but yeah, it sounds like this is really a passion project for you, and you're pulling a lot from past history and experience in the space, the trading card space, and putting it towards this passion project to really make it something that you would have liked to see in the space, right? Obviously, Magic's been around for a long time, and it's super exciting, but there's always room for innovation on the product. Hearthstone's been around for quite a bit too, but like you said, it's kind of fallen off as people have realized that, RNG is great and everything, and I think there should be an element of RNG in games, but when that's more the skew to it, it really takes away from the people that know the game, know the meta, and are playing, to the skill side of it, right? Which can be disheartening, especially on the higher end.
And it's funny because the flip side of that is like, Flesh and Blood is like not enough RNG, right? So Flesh and Blood has the opposite problem, which is like the better player almost always wins, and that also attritions a lot of people, right? Like I think one of the things about TCG that makes them really good, like I used to play a lot of competitive chess, right? I think chess is a terrible game. Why? The better player just always wins, and it's mostly based on how much that person has memorized, right? And that's why symmetric resource, symmetric information games, I don't think are that interesting, right? Asymmetric resource, asymmetric information games are super interesting because it's kind of skill, it's kind of luck, it's kind of like metagaming. Like, did you bring the right deck to the table to start? Like, there's so many variables at play that I think TCGs get really, really interesting, right? And you call this a passion project. Like, we kind of have an internal saying here, which is like, this is a project with a lot of passion. This is not a passion project. Like, this is a serious company, right? Like, we are not here to futz around. And I think you see that a lot in trading cards. It's like people just love trading cards. Like, oh, like I love trading cards, therefore I should run a trading card business. And like, that is not like, I mean, I guess to some degree that's how we approach this. But the other side of this is like, we are here to win. We are here to take names. We are here to be the biggest thing. We are here. I want to be so big that we can buy Hasbro. That's my stated goal. Is we're going to buy Hasbro, and we're going to own Magic. Because the thing is, like, I think that this space generally is like you see in crypto, right? Like, everyone's like, oh, like the quality of builders in crypto, like, not so good, blah 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 blah, right? Have you seen the quality of builders across TCG? Like, I think there's a lot of opportunity to just come in with a really good team and just outcompete, outgrow, and like connect with our own community, right? Like, one thing that we are really aggressive about, you'll see us in our Discord. If you go to our website, you can join the Vibes Discord. We're really active. Our whole team, we're talking with the players, we're playing, we're in the meta game, like, we're understanding what's going on because we're just really obsessive about this, right? And so my biggest criteria for working with anyone, our developers, our marketing people, down to like the customer support team members, is they just have to really care, right? Like, the thing that's one of the beauties of TCG is there's a lot of people to whom TCG is a very meaningful part of their life, right? And so if you have a team building the space who doesn't like deeply care about trading cards, like, you're just doing this wrong. Like, there are plenty of people who are really great at their job who will also do the extra mile every single time because they just care about this, right? And that matters. Like, our lead developer, Segfault, who a lot of people know from our Discord, like, he's the type of guy where he'll be playing a deck, encounter a bug, and then just like quit the game and fix the code like right then and there, right? Because he's like, well, my deck didn't work, therefore I must fix it. I think it's really important.
He'll take the loss right away to go fix the problem. I like that. Yeah. So on that note there, I think we could probably talk about, the state of crypto and how people are building on it for quite a while. But I really want to dive into what our community's truly going to be looking at, which is the game itself. I know you guys have a lot of resources and tutorials for people to go look at. So I'm going to throw that up on screen right now. And then obviously later, we're going to jump right into gameplay, right? AC's got some from a beginner's perspective. You're going to dive into some of what you see for meta decks and stuff like that, so some people can get an edge there as well. And then maybe you'll even rip some packs for us live so we can see what that is, because I know everybody loves watching packs get ripped. So I'm just going to throw this up here, which is your content page. I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier. So this is a Vibes website. Everybody, you can see the link there. It's vibes.game. And then on the website, obviously, you can download it. We still recommend, if you're on PC, to download it on Epic. But you have all of these tabs here: the game, learn to play, visual, spoiler, content, where to buy. I'm assuming where to buy is more because you have physical cards as well, right?
Yeah, we have physical cards as well. So that's more like, here are some stores. Basically, if you're going to go to, I would say the content section is where you want to be as probably like a more competitive gamer, a YGG member. If you want to, learn more, I would say there's a couple of flavors of things here to check out. The beginner's guide yellow starter deck tutorial is great. Like, if you've actually the middle one, if you've just started the game. So if you beat the tutorial in the game, you're gifted either the yellow or green starter deck. And we have an article for each, which is just like, here's how to play the starter deck. Here's some cards in it. Maybe here's some substitutions you might want to make. It's a good place to kind of jump off from. And then if you go, so we have a lot of articles by Lofi and some other people. Lofi's #1 ranked right now in the world in Vibes. And so if you go back to the content section, there's, if you want to get a glimpse of what the like comp meta, what the top players are playing, there's a lot of these sort of deck guides. You've got a blue deck guide. If you scroll down, there's a yellow deck guide. There's a couple of different ways you can build the yellow deck, right? So if you want to see where your deck is going. One thing that is definitely true is the starter decks are quite strong in this game. So we have people who have ground to our top tier who are entirely free to play off of just the starter deck, right? Right now is the pack bonanza. So if you win for every win in ranked right now, you get a full pack. So it's a really good way to grow your collection. And don't be intimidated. It is like very viable to play and win without spending. Obviously, you can buy more cards. There's also 2 more starter decks. There's the blue starter deck and the red starter deck, which you can earn gold for every win, and that can help you get the other starter decks as well. But I really encourage you, like, now is a great time to just dive head first if you're thinking about checking out the online game. Play the tutorial, play versus AI. If you can beat the AI consistently, play versus player, and just go for it, because now is a really good time, and there's a lot of really good content. There's also I'm sure you guys have seen sort of Abstract's launch recently, but Abstract launched a live streaming platform, and on Abstract there's about, usually I think on average, 2 to 3 people playing Vibes live streaming there. So definitely, like, there's tons and tons and tons of Vibes content coming out from our community as well. One of the cool things too, if you get hooked and this becomes your game and you want to make content, we have all of our content is sourced from our community, and so we're really actively working with creators that want to maybe put things on our website, that maybe want to stream. We were able to get everyone who applied. We had a forum in our Discord, and if you applied to be a streamer on Abstract, I think everyone who applied and then told us they applied, we helped get pushed through the application on Abstract. So we're really active in supporting content creators within our ecosystem.
Yeah, which I think is going to be a big thing, right? For getting people onboarded and stuff, is just having them do there. I know Abstract is super hard to get onto, even for our content creators. We've got a wait list of people getting ready to dive into Abstract itself. But yeah, it's really great to see that you have so much content already put together for new players to get onboarded, because like you said, that's really the biggest thing with TCGs, is it can be pretty daunting as a new player to think, like, how am I going to get into this? I need to learn all these cards. I need to learn what they do. I need to learn the turn structure, because like you said, every TCG has kind of different ways of battling it, right? Parallel is the learning curve for Parallel, just from myself playing, that game was huge. Like, it took multiple hours to really get into it and figure out how to play effectively.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, for Vibes, what you'll find is, like, learning the game mechanics should be much quicker than the learning the parallel experience. Especially if you just kind of jump into the fire. Learning how to play well, now that's a journey that I can't attest to how long that will take. But I think one of the things that's kind of interesting is, if you've played a lot of other TCGs, a lot of the things that matter in Vibes are different. But maybe we can just jump into some gameplay and talk through some stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So let me just pull up your screen there. There we go. Yeah,
Cool.
and kind of just dive into, like, so if I'm a new player and I've just downloaded the game, what am I going to see? Obviously, your account's not going to be a new player account, but...
So down here where it says play, you're going to see tutorial. Play through that tutorial. When you complete the tutorial, you're going to get a starter deck. There's 4 starter decks. So we've got yellow, green, blue, red. Yellow and green are the beginner. Blue and red are the advanced. Yellow is probably it's a really good jumping off point. Red is probably the strongest of the starter decks once you've kind of mastered it. It's also, blue is definitely the hardest deck to play of the starter decks. But so you'll get one of the decks. So this is the green starter deck. You've got a bunch of different stuff. We'll kind of just talk through it and play through it. But your first win of the day, you get a pack. Right now, every win, you also get an additional pack. And you'll get, sort of build your collection out. You can open packs. We'll rip a pack here, just to kind of show you what that's like. Got our rare here. The little igloos at the bottom tell you the rarity of the cards. The gold igloo is rare. We've got a foil. There's 2 levels of foils in the games. There's we call them rainbow foils and groovy foils. So if you're like the look of things like this, and we really focused on the look of these cards. We've got our art director Claire, who's fantastic. But yeah, so there's a bunch of different decks, and then if you grind up every win, you also get gold. And so if you want one of the other starter decks here in this deck section, I would highly recommend, definitely try playing with some yellow, definitely try playing with some red. Green and blue are also great. Blue is going to be your hardest by far. So if you want a challenge, that might be for you. But 5,000 gold, that's very grind up to a bowl just by playing for free. And again, you're going to get a pack every time you win right now during the pack bonanza. So don't feel intimidated, dive in, build your collection, all that jazz. Do you want me to play a game? Should we play a meta deck? Should we play a starter deck? Should we... What's the best thing to do here?
Let's roll one with a starter deck, and then let's see you crush some people with meta decks after that.
Cool. Yeah,
and then you can just walk us through kind of live how the turn's working, what's going for your head as a player there. But I think those tips just right out the gate of what decks to really dive into is already going to go a long way. I think we should also just pause here for a second and really showcase the point that like you can totally play this game free to play and enjoy it. You don't need to buy a single thing to participate and to play it.
Yeah, 100%. Like we have, and I'll explain to you, like, you guys can look more at how our ranked play works, but we have like a leveling up system. So your penguin gets fatter the better you are. So you start in lean, you work your way up from lean to jolly, a little bit bigger, and then you go from jolly to plump to chunk
to dummy thick.
And dummy thick. So dummy thick is our best players, and in dummy thick, it's a function of both your number of wins, but then also your win rate, and that will help where you rank in dummy thick. We've one of the things that you can see on our website is an announcement of organized play. So we have seasons. Season 0 ends in about on the 20th. The top 8 from each season qualify to the next to the World Championships, and everyone else gets pro points that also can help qualify to the World Championships. We also have a special playmat for people who make dummy thick, and some other great prizes there as well. And our prize support is powered by Pengu, so we're excited to give out a bunch of Pengu as well to players. But we can talk more about that. I kind of think we should just jump into a game, maybe.
Yeah, let's jump right into a game before we
and I'm going to play against AI just so we can kind of like have all the time in the world to talk through and not rope people. When we play the meta deck, I'll play versus player because if that's cool with you guys.
Oh, 100%. I think a few of our players, our community is already actually playing the game. I see some posts, some people posting in chat that they're playing. So maybe you'll match up with a YGG player when we go live with the meta decks.
Yeah, no stream sniping. All right, so you're gonna draw an opening hand. It's gonna be 5 cards. You can pick any number of cards, put them on the bottom exactly once. Generally, you want to keep the lower costed cards. In the yellow starter deck, Extrovert Penguin's really good. I'm actually gonna keep the Shy Penguin. No, I'm not. No.
And cost of cards is the fish at the top, right?
Yeah, so the cost of the cards is the fish on the top left. Vibe on the bottom right, you can think of as kind of like power. There's no combat in vibes, but we'll get there in a second. And then bottom left is how much Pudge it produces. Pudge is a resource that helps you play actions. We're gonna do this. All right, so we've got this penguin. This is just a vanilla 1-drop. We've got Mysterious Penguin. This is a 3-drop. Extrovert Penguin. So what I'm gonna do turn 1. So every card can be played either face up as the card that it is or face down as a rod. Rods produce a resource called fish. So we're gonna play this. Flying Penguin face down. We're going to play our Flying Penguin from hand. Costs 1 fish. We had 1 rod. That 1 rod produces 1 fish. And we're just going to hit the space bar, which passes the turn. There's a few things kind of to note going on. You saw at the beginning we played our game of rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first. The person who goes first gets the Baron. The way that you win vibes. So the goal of this game is you want 15 rods and penguins in play and to have the Baron on your side at the start of your turn, and you win. So it goes my turn, opponent's turn, action time. That's the interaction turn I mentioned, and vibe check. So the single unflopped penguin with the highest vibe wins the vibe check. We're the only one with a penguin, so we're going to win. Your prize for winning is a rod off the top into play, and your opponent's prize for losing is a card into their hand. So there's card and resource parity. But yeah, so Mysterious Penguin says whenever this penguin enters the huddle, if there are 4 more yellow penguins in your huddle, including this one, choose a penguin and flop it. Flop it just means turn it sideways. Flop penguins don't vibe and can't produce Pudge and can't use their act abilities. We'll get to all that in a second. I'm going to play my Mysterious Penguin as a rod. And then I'm going to look at Dashing Swordman. Dashing Swordman is the start of action time. If you don't have the Baron, boost this penguin's vibe by 4 for the rest of the cycle. So we do have the Baron right now. So again, each turn in vibe check, you compete to win the Baron. See what our opponent plays here. They're going to play a Penguin of the Falling Leaves. So now our highest vibing unflop Penguin is Dashing Swordsman. Their highest vibing unflop Penguin is Penguin of the Falling Leaves. And so in the vibe check, we're going to see who's higher or if they tie. And they both have 4 vibe, but they're going to tie. This means the Baron stays in place. Neither of us get either of those prizes mentioned. Now we're going to go first here because we have the Baron. We have an Embarrassment of Riches here. I'm going to play this Penguin who zooms face down. Now I'm going to play my Extrovert Penguin. Extrovert Penguin says whenever another Penguin enters your huddle, put 2 vibe counters on this Penguin. Vibe counter is just increase vibe by 1. We're going to pass the turn, see what our opponent does. When I'm playing the yellow deck, I like playing Extrovert Penguin as quickly as possible because we want to grow. Like a lot of how you win with the yellow starter deck is growing Extrovert Penguin. We're still going to tie this vibe check, but things are going to get out of hand starting next turn. I'm going to show you how we're going to get really far ahead. And I will say, like, the yellow deck is pretty linear. Like, this deck is really about, like, sequencing, right? All right, cool. Well, we're going to play Inquisitive Penguin. Inquisitive Penguin costs 0 fish to play. We're going to get those 2 vibe counters. It's going to go up to 4. Penguin Who Zooms says, as additional cost to play this Penguin, return a non-speedy Penguin in your huddle to its owner's hand. Penguin Who Zooms itself is speedy, so you can't return itself. We're going to turn this Inquisitive Penguin. Penguin Who Zooms entering is going to put 2 counters. We're going to replay the Inquisitive Penguin, which is going to put another 2 counters. We're going to play Penguin Who Zooms. We're going to pick this back up. And now we're going to play this Inquisitive Penguin. And now our Extrovert Penguin has 12 vibe, right? I told you things were getting out of hand this turn. We're in a pretty commanding position, which is pretty exciting. Our opponents played a 10 vibe Penguin. So Shy Penguin says you can only play this Penguin if you played another Penguin this turn. That's why you generally want to hold your Inquisitive Penguins in the yellow deck in order to enable playing your Shy Penguin. So a big mistake people make when they first start playing this deck is run out Inquisitive Penguin on the first turn. There's often not a need to do that, right? What you really want to do is save it for these combos. Like maybe it's going to add counters in your Extrovert, or maybe it's going to help you play your Shy Penguin. That's one of those things that you'll pick up on as you play, where like, once you get the mechanics, decisions like that are better. Ooh. Penguin Who's Late to the Party. So Penguin Who's Late to the Party says whenever this Penguin enters the huddle, if your huddle has at least 3 more Penguins than your opponent's huddle, including this one, it enters with 6 vibe counters. So we do we have 3 more? We do not. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, it does. We do. So it entered 7 is 3 more than 4, so it enters with 6 counters. We've also got a counter here. And so we're looking pretty good here. We've got a 14 viber. We've got 8 vibe on this one too. But maybe they have some removal. Maybe they don't. The AI is not the smartest AI right now. So, and a cool thing too is every win against the AI is, I think, 260 gold. So 4 wins is a little bit more than a pack. And so we're going to get some reps in. Now we've drawn Check the Yellow Pages. So Check the Yellow Pages is an action. This says reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, put all the yellow cards, penguin cards revealed into your hand, and put the rest on the bottom. So this is good because we get to show you kind of how an action works. And actually, that was I probably should have just played this Check the Yellow Pages as a rod if I was trying to win this game more actively. But I'm more interested in showing you guys how this works. So remember, penguins create pudge. Actions cost pudge. So this costs 3 yellow pudge. So we need to flop 3 yellow penguins. They produce the resource in their bottom left corner. So we're going to flop these 3. Remember, flopped penguins don't participate in vibe checks, so it's important that we didn't flop our Extrovert Penguin. All right, we have top 3. 2 of these are penguins, 1's an action. So we got a penguin who might bring a +1 and a penguin who doesn't mind goodbyes. Now, importantly, again, the right play from like trying to win the game perspective would have been to put that Check the Yellow Pages as a rod. We would have gotten to 14. We would have won the vibe check, gotten to 15, and won the game. But so we're going to win the vibe check. We get our 14th card, which is the rod off the top. If you ever want to see your rods face down, tab, hold it, and you can see what the cards are that are face down. Now we want to get as much on the board as possible. So we're going to play Penguin might bring a +1. Penguin might play a +1 when it enters the huddle, looks at the top card of your deck. If it has fish cost 2 or less, you put it in your hand. It did not, unfortunately. Actually, we're not going to play the Flying Penguin. We're going to play Penguin Doesn't Mind Goodbyes. We're going to play a rod. We're up to 17 cards in play. So if we start the next turn with the Baron and 17, you can always check how many cards you have in play down here in this left corner, which is actually, I'm realizing, covered by my name, I think, on the screen. You can see our opponent has 14 now, penguins and rods in play. We're going to win this vibe check.
Overwhelming.
There you go. We're going to get a rod off the top. It's going to be the start of our turn. We have 15 or more cards in play plus the Baron, and so we win the game. And that's about it. So that's kind of a really quick run through of a game. If that didn't make much sense to you, don't worry too much. It's like, I think I've yet to meet someone who by their fifth game doesn't really get it. It's mostly getting over that first couple of games where you kind of learn the mechanics that it'll make you a much better player.
Yeah, I don't think it's overly difficult, even from like that was really maybe my fifth game watching here, and I'm already starting to pull it in. I'm not by far not the quickest when it comes to TCGs. Like you said, it's not overly complicated to get into it, but obviously once you start into meta stuff and getting into like deck crafting, I'm sure there's a bigger rabbit hole to dive into.
Yeah. Should we do a meta deck? Do we want to chat about other stuff? Like, what do we want to kind of do on this global hangout? What are the vibes in the Discord? What do we want to do here? Should we play another starter deck? What do we want to do?
Let's rip a few packs right now, and if that's possible, and
yeah.
I will pose the question in the Discord what people want to see. Do you guys want to see some meta deck versus some real players instead of AI from somebody who actually knows what they're doing?
Yeah, some of our communities already flexing their victories in Discord, and also the physical vibe card.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean the physical vibe cards are sweet.
Yeah.
Definitely fun to rip, and also like there's a lot of really cool. The secondary market on the cards is pretty crazy right now. The coveted sketch cards are selling. We had one sell for $4,500. They sell pretty consistently in the $500 to $1,500 US range. So there's a lot of really good value in those packs, and every pack comes with a unique QR code that gets you a full pack in the virtual game. So definitely don't sleep on the physical vibes cards for sure. I know Loot Stack and the guys over at YGG helped distribute for us. One thing I'm really proud of that we did in this game too, and I'm going to show off a little bit, is this foiling effect. I think is like really nice. I'm a huge foil collector, both in paper and online. And we actually have two foil effects. So if you go to collection, one thing that I'll show you guys, and you go to sort, you can actually show unowned and see every version of every card. So there's two different foiling effects. You've got what we call rainbow foil, which is this kind of cool effect here. You've also got the groovy foil. Groovy foils are super rare, and these are sort of like, it's a really cool actually math equation that's going on in these to generate this effect. But it's like using the edges of the image and some calculations on it to get this sort of like moving, glowing, vibey thing. I think this one's a card where the foil effect looks really cool. But we spent a lot of time on the look of the game because like there's this movie that came out a few years ago called Cats that was just like, I remember reading a review of it. It was like famously bad. And they're like, everything was good about this movie except it was difficult to look at, which makes it really hard to enjoy a movie because that's the main thing you're doing. And so like one of our philosophies in this game was like a lot of the time you spend in a TCG is just like staring at cards on a board. And so like you should want to look at the cards because they should be good to look at. Is like a very important like fundamental premise, right? And so, I think we've got, obviously I'm a little biased here, but I think one of the selling points of Vibes certainly is just the images and the art quality. And if you play the game enough, we've got some really cool promo cards too by guest artists that you can earn right now. If you connect your AGW via Abstract, you get a play set at the end of the week of a special guest artist card, Abstract Penguin by Mungo, who does a lot of the art for Pudgy.
Yeah, these cards look fan. I really like the groovy foils. I think that's like super sick.
Yeah, groovy foil, Penguin breaks the fourth wall, great one. a lot of cool stuff to kind of enjoy and vibes.
And obviously, like you said, this is kind of the best time to really build your decks out because you're essentially getting free packs way more often, and
Way more often. I mean,
that's not going to be something that sticks around.
we were always doing different events, right? Like, but if you want to jump in, like now is the time to jump in. There's also tons and tons of players on the line. We just announced organized play. Season 0 is pretty deep in where we are right now, but in about 20 days we're starting season 1, and so all the sort of leaderboard stuff resets, and so but it's possible. Like we've had people. There was someone who made dummy thick in 1 day, that's pretty crazy. It's a lot of wins. But it's possible, right? And I mean, when I say a day, I mean like 20 hours straight of playing, but like they sat down and made dummy thick. So it is possible to make it. I would also say if you're like a competitive kind of grindy kind of person, right now we have a lot of new players. And so if you like the average player is not as strong as they've been in the past. So now is a great time to like just grind it up. It's very possible against newer players.
Yeah.
Should
Dip their toes
Yeah.
in the water. Yeah. Once they get their definitely the vibes and they will get the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you've played another TCG, this should be pretty quick to pick up. And even if you haven't, this should also be pretty quick to pick up, right? Give it a try. Give it till at least the 5th game. It's free to play. Check it out. You get a full deck for just completing the tutorial. So there's absolutely no excuse not to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's dive into a metagame
all right. So
against a real person.
so we're gonna play a meta deck. We're gonna play Have a Wild Night. So this is like the meta deck version of the starter deck we just played. Wow, talk about queue times being fast.
Yeah,
we're playing against someone named Jaguar. Yeah, I mean, our queue times are sub 1 minute pretty consistently right now, that's really important to us. Is like we've done a lot of things to try and really optimize for. All right, so this deck is really centered around this card, Prepare for Wild Night. So our deck is half actions, half penguins. And this says reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, put all action cards revealed in your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your deck in any order. Now, this is not necessarily, if I were going to like a championships event and I wanted to bring a deck where I felt confident would win like every game, I don't know if I'd bring this deck, but this is a really good ladder climbing deck because this deck is fast and jammy and like quite good. All right, so we're gonna draw a card. I'm gonna put Not Your Keys face down because it's a little bit expensive. Penguin Zoom is a 1-drop, but we can't play it because it requires turning a penguin in your hands. We're gonna pass the turn. Pot Stirring Penguin can produce 2 pudge if you have 3 or more yellow penguins in play, and Penguin Rifle +1 is just really good value. This is a card that you get in the starter deck. We're playing 4 copies of this. What you'll understand about this game is because like your cards in play are your life total essentially. Like card advantage is always important in trading card games. It's really important in this game because like you literally can't win until you have 15 cards in play. So you need to have 15 cards in order to win. So the sooner you can get to 15 cards, the better. So card advantage is extra important in vibes compared to other TCGs. All right, we did not bring a +1. That's an action. As I said, like one of the things in this build of this deck, and you'll see there's like 3 really different builds of the yellow deck on the Vibes website right now. And so there's a lot of different philosophies. There's faster versions, more mid-range versions, more combo-y versions. There's a lot of different opportunities, and that's just within this one color. Like there's many different colors to play. Red is probably my favorite. It's probably also the most complicated of the like commonly played starter decks. There's a huge cult following. A lot of the parallel pros are playing purple. Purple is going to be probably the hardest in terms of card availability of deck to build because there isn't a starter deck in purple. Purple is also probably one of the highest like skill capped decks. I know even when I've tried some of the meta decks that some of the other people played, I had to have one of our pros sit down and be like, I don't understand how your deck works, but I see in our data that you keep winning. So can you explain to me how this works? And so there's a lot of like fiddling around to do. I would also say like the meta is very unsolved, right? Like if you want to make your mark on a new game and like have a deck that's named after you kind of deal, like this is a great time to get into vibes and like tinker and try stuff. There's a lot of cool kind of combo decks that you can do, all sorts of jazz. So that, a lot of things to think through. One of the things that we want to think through when we're playing this deck is like sequencing, right? So we had a bunch of different options there. We could have played Penguin might bring a +1 or Pot Stirring Penguin. In general, my bias is towards playing Penguin might bring a +1 because it might draw us a card, and having more cards in hand makes you be able to make more informed decisions. All right, but they also are playing Penguin might bring a +1. They put your flippers in the air. It wasn't Penguin, so it goes back on top. We're gonna, as I said, lead. Oh, what do we want to do here? We want to play another Penguin might bring a +1. Let's see if it brings a +1. It does bring a +1. So we bring Pot Stirring Penguin. I'm gonna play Buddy Up as a Rod. Now we're gonna play Penguin Resumes. We're gonna return Penguin might bring a +1, right? Because this returns a Penguin to our hand. This has an Enter the Huddle ability that can draw us a card. So this is the Penguin that we want to return to our hand. Because again, this deck is all about eking out little bits of card advantage. Every time you play Penguin bring a +1, you have about a 50% chance that you draw a card. And so, every Penguin bring a +1 draws you half a card essentially. Prepare for a Wild Knight looks at your top 5. Half of your deck is actions. So you draw on average 2.5 cards per Have a Wild Knights. And then there's another card called Check the Yellow Pages, which does something similar. One of the combos in this deck is the card Yum Yum. So Yum Yum says ice all penguins. You might think, well, I'm playing a deck with a lot of penguins. Why would I want to do that? There's another penguin that says Penguin Doesn't Mind Goodbyes, which says whenever a yellow penguin you control gets iced, draw a card. So one of your goals is to set up having Penguin Doesn't Mind Goodbyes in play. When you play Yum Yum, ice everybody's penguins, but you draw a card for every penguin you ice and your opponent doesn't. And you just have tons of cards in hand you win the game. That's the combo in the yellow deck that a lot of people are playing. I think our opponent, it looks like, is playing the yellow starter deck, although there's also a lot of versions that may play this card. Now, Trampoline Rod lets you pick up a penguin in play, return it to your hand. They're playing pretty well, so they've returned the Penguin might bring a +1. They're playing it again, kind of got same concept that we're doing here, trying to get to Value Town with Penguin might bring a +1, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it looks like they're a fairly experienced player.
yeah, which is great. So this is a saucy action. So what I just played, and I'll explain that in a second. We're going to play this. We're going to draw a card. We're going to play Pot Stirring Penguin. We have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pudge available. We're going to action time. So Got 'em is an action that you can only play if you first played it as a face down rod. And it says choose a penguin with vibe 2 or less and ice it. So this is a really good card. Now, if they're playing the yellow starter deck, one thing we might want to think about here is like Got 'em is removal that we can use on a potential extrovert penguin. So extrovert penguin gets +1 counters, but only if they haven't played something. So they're going to check the yellow pages. We could just Got 'em the penguin bring a +1 right now, but there's kind of no reason to. We're going to let this resolve. So this is on the stack. We're letting it resolve. This is check the yellow pages. They're going to look at their top 3. They have 2 yellow penguins in their top 3, so they're going to draw 2. Yeah, they're basically playing exactly the starter deck. We have yet to see any non-starter deck cards from them. But they're playing it pretty well. Like seems to be someone who kind of knows what they're doing, is experienced a little bit. We are obviously not. I think this is a full card availability deck that I am playing right now. We could ice this Penguin bring a +1, but there's kind of not a need to. So I'm going to pay 3 here. One thing with the yellow deck, when you get good with it, you'll realize that you actually just want to lose basically every vibe check, because when you lose the vibe check, so it's not always obvious like you want to win the vibe check, because winning the vibe check gets you an extra card in play, but it gives your opponent an extra card in hand. Right. So we've drawn 4 cards off. Check the yellow pages. Have a Wild Knight. And Have a Wild Knight is an uncommon, so this is a card that you can get pretty easily. But it's not obvious that you want to win the vibe check, because very often it is true that having a card in hand is more valuable than having a card in play. And so there is often an argument that you want to try and lose. So a lot of the best players, there's actually an entire article on our website about someone who has 2,000 words to say about why you shouldn't play Flying Penguin turn 1, even if you have it, because you want to lose the vibe check, and there's no reason to give your opponent the extra card by winning the first vibe check with this deck. So kind of an interesting perspective from a pretty good player too. We're gonna run this out. We're at 12 right now. We've played a rod every turn. We have another prepare for Wild Knight. We have 4 Yum Yums. We don't need the 4 Yum Yums. We have a Not Your Keys. Not Your Keys is useful. This is a card that says choose a penguin and ice it. But you'll see, like, this deck is a little bit more streamlined, fine-tuned, card advantage-y, combo-y than your starter deck, right? So But most of the cards that I'm playing with are commons or uncommons, right? So there's a lot of ways that you can play and start with the starter deck and incrementally improve it and play around with it. Starter deck is a really good, strong shell, but certainly there's ways to improve it, right? So now we definitely don't want to Yum Yum. They've played the card that I was talking about, which is whenever another yellow penguin in your huddle is ice, draw a card. And so our card that says ice all penguins is probably not very good here.
No, it might work in their benefit there.
We are going to play Have a Wild Night, though, because we need to draw a card that is a win con for us. So the way that this deck works is you kind of have 8 cards in your deck that just say win the game or win this action phase. So Buddy Up is a really strong card. This is probably the strongest card in yellow. It says the rest of the cycle, yellow penguins you control gain the ability act, choose a penguin and flop it. And remember that flop penguins don't participate in the vibe check, right? So if you play this card and you have more penguins in play, essentially, then you can win the vibe check that way. All right, so we've also drawn to check the yellow pages. We've drawn to put your flippers in the air. So this is one of our win cons. We'll get there in a second. Let's play this. And I'm intentionally flopping my higher vibe penguin so that, there's no chance that we win the vibe check here, but we definitely want to lose this vibe check. Put your flippers in the air. It says choose a penguin, boost its vibe by twice the number of yellow penguins in your huddle for the rest of this cycle. And we've drawn our own penguin as mine goodbyes. So that's also really good here. Put your flippers in the air. We have a lot of penguins. Can boost one of our penguins to high enough to win. Now, put your flippers in the air is weak to a card called Not Your Keys, which we also have in our hand, which just says ice a penguin. So if we played Put Your Flippers in the Air, choosing one of our penguins, and they have 4 yellow pudge, and they went in response, Not Your Keys on our penguin, then that really sucks for us because that means that our penguin is iced and also our Put Your Flippers in the Air fizzles. So that would be kind of the loss condition here. So one of the things we might want to do is use some of our Gothams to take them off of 4 pudge if that is a thing that is possible. The other thing that is possible here is that they have Yum Yum, right? I think that's pretty unlikely because it looks to me like they are literally playing the starter deck. So we're not necessarily going to play around Yum Yum here. So we have a choice on our turn. We could go Penguin Who Zooms plus play a penguin +1 plus play a flying penguin, or we could just jam our penguin. Actually, it might be right to just jam Penguin Doesn't Mind Goodbyes just to play around the Yum Yum in case they have it. It's also of note they have 15 cards in play. So one of the things is if they have, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yellow pudge. So we're not gonna be able to take them off of we're not gonna be able to take them off of. So actually, okay, the right play here definitely is play Penguin Doesn't Mind Goodbyes because it has 6 vibe. One of our lines here that we could take is we're gonna play a Yum Yum as a rod. Then we're gonna play a Flying Penguin. So we're gonna get to 15 here, even if they have. So we're gonna put your flippers in the air, choosing one of our penguins. If they ice it in response, then what we're going to do is Not Your Keys, their penguin who has a mind goodbyes, and ours will win the vibe check. Do we have enough pudge? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1, 2. Yeah, we have exactly enough pudge to do both those plays. And for whatever reason, all of that goes wrong. They're at 15. So if they win with 14, they get a rod from the top of their deck as their prize. That's their 15th card, and they win. So we need to keep them under 14 if they win the vibe check. So they're going to Not Your Keys here. That is okay. We are going to, in response, play. So they had Not Your Keys, but they used it there. We are going to, in response, so we're going down to 14. We can still win because we're going to, in response, go here with our Put Your Flippers in the Air. Now, it's important to choose Penguin Who Zooms instead of one of the penguins with 2 vibe, because in case they have a Gotham, which I think is very unlikely because I think they're literally playing the starter deck, but if they had a Gotham, Gotham can, in response to Put Your Flippers in the Air, ice a penguin might bring a +1 because Gotham says ice a penguin with vibe 2 or less, and this is a penguin with vibe 2 or less, but it cannot choose Penguin Who Zooms. So Penguin Who Zooms here is better. So this is going to go to 19 vibe. They're going to ice our Penguin Who Has Mind Goodbyes. Now let's see. They're going to need another action here that does something. If it's just the yellow starter deck, I don't think there's anything they could have. But we currently have 14 cards in play. We have a Penguin with 19 vibe. This is going to win the vibe check. And yeah, so they're going to pass priority. We pass priority, and we've won the game. So that's us playing a meta deck You'll see kind of the subtleties there of some of the choices. Certainly this deck I think is stronger than just straight up the yellow deck, but you'll see even like it didn't feel like their opponent didn't have any game, right? Like there were like literally all they needed there was if they had the card Buddy Up, I think we lose. And so, adding cards like Buddy Up to your yellow starter deck is a really good way to just level it up slightly. But there's a lot of game, even if you're just playing the starter deck against even a meta deck, right? And that's part of the points is like, I think in a lot of games the starter decks suck, and we really didn't want that to be the case. So like the starter decks are pretty strong as a way to jump into the game.
Yeah, for sure. Like honestly, it seemed like the starter deck was kind of beating you at the beginning until you started getting on that roll there. Like they definitely had more cards in play. They probably felt like they had the advantage, but
yeah,
once you started getting it,
you'll see too, like there's just a lot of deceptively complicated decisions you have to make, especially around like every turn, what do you play as a rod? Like that is a complicated decision. And so, if you're someone who's like, my enjoyment of trading card games, I want to like make better decisions than my opponent. There's so many opportunities to do that in this game. And that's where a lot of the like skill part comes from, right? You also see the like interaction on the stack, all that jazz. One of the things too is the games should be close. Like because the person who's ahead on board wins the Baron, but gets the card in play instead of in their hand, which is a bit of a disadvantage. That's basically a balancing mechanic. Like the person who's ahead on board will get fewer in-hand resources.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's great. Like a lot of our community is going to want to obviously play, but the thing that we get asked all the time is like, well, do I need to go buy some cards on the market to be even competitive? And clearly the answer is no, just play the game, collect a few cards. Like you said, if you get that Buddy Up card or whatever, like in a few
which is
packs,
a common, by the way.
Yeah.
Buddy Up, I think, or common or uncommon. This is not like a hard like card, an aspirational card don't. Like this is a common. Yeah, it's a common.
Yeah, so ripping a few packs, there's a high likelihood that you're gonna pull that anyways. So.
Well, and you get a pack for every win right now, which is really exciting. So like that's like there's plenty of ways to increase your collection.
There you go. You got one right there.
But
we literally were talking about, we just ripped a Buddy Up. So like, yeah, I mean, this is a card, you throw this in your yellow starter deck, it will vastly improve your win rate. Figure it out, figure out what you like, and deck build, and just have fun, right? Like we're at a really nascent part of this game. Like just enjoy it.
So we have a few questions here. I know we're pretty much at the top of the hour. So one of the big questions, and I'm sure you'll have an answer to this, is when is it coming to Android and iOS?
Yeah, so it's something that we're working on. It's not something that it's not soon enough as to have a date, right? So don't expect this in the next couple of weeks, right? Like this is a several months out thing. We're still in alpha. Like I know it looks very polished, and so there's a lot of expectations around that, but like we started developing this game like a year ago. So we came to market very quick with it. We decided to go desktop first just because like a couple of things, when the graphics are a little bit nicer, but also like, this kind of game requires like reading a lot of the cards and knowing what they do, and like text on the phone is very small. So we did it this way first. We will get there eventually, but not on the like soon time horizon. So just to set expectations correctly there.
Yeah, of course. It's on the roadmap, but got to get a game out first and then see where it goes, right? We've got another question here from Dung. He wants to know, as you level up on ranks, is there other like skins or stuff that you're going to see? So like obviously the playboard, the skins on the back of the cards, the traditional TCG cosmetics.
So right now there is not additional TCG cosmetics. That's something that we're rolling out. That is rolling out more on the like order of magnitude of like weeks versus months. There is a lot of the real like meaningful prize support starts at the top tier, which is Dummy Thick. And so like you get a physical playmat that is exclusive to season 0 Dummy Thick players at the end of the season. At the end of a lot of our events, we'll give a lot of prizes based on where you are, mostly to Dummy Thick players. But there's sort of like two sections to how this works, right? So in the beginning, you have this sort of system over here. You start at like lean 4. There's 6 pips. If you have win streaks, you get 2 pips. There's rank loss protection, right? So even if you're winning 50% of games, you should still rank up all the way from lean to the tier. So there's 5 tiers. So the tier before Dummy Thick, which is Chonk, I believe. Yeah, Chonk, is the only one that doesn't have win streaks or rank protection. So you have one set of 4 where you have to be on doing pretty well. But then once you hit Dummy Thick, you sort of just are trying to grind against each other. But relative to something like a Hearthstone, like trying to hit ranked in Hearthstone, you have 2 tiers that don't have win streaks or loss protection. In Vibes, you only have 1. So this should be a faster grind than like Hearthstone by a lot, or Magic Arena if you've ever done that grind too. But again, like we have a lot of things that are coming in between the World Championships and some other stuff as well around it, powered by Pengu Rewards, all this kind of jazz. So I would really, if I were you, take this season, see if you can hit Dummy Thick in the next 20 days. It's very doable. If you can't, no worries. Everything resets the next season. You know, the next season you guys will be around with, you'll be around for a full season. And so there's a lot of opportunities then to do that as well. But certainly, you know, this is a game where like, if you want to get in early on, it's on a really great growth trajectory right now. And so, you know, the better we do, the sort of the more prize support, et cetera, that there can be. I would also say, like, if you're of the more play to earn crowd, probably the best farm, and you know, I'm a little biased here, but I think probably the best farm in all of crypto right now, if you're just trying to look to trade off time play doing something for earning crypto, is like, if you can apply to a stream on Abstract, let us know. We'll help push through your application. You stream Vibes on Abstract, you're basically triple farming because you're earning Abstract XP, which, you know, I think will be very highly contributing to their airdrop. They've said that streaming is one of the best ways. This is probably the best thing to stream there. You're earning Abstract XP. You are competing for Powered by Pengu prizes in game. And, you know, then were Vibes to ever do something as well, it probably doesn't hurt to have played, right? So kind of a triple farm there. So highly recommend if you're of the like play to earn farmy crowd. This is not a game where like you're gonna be able to be like, oh, I'm gonna make this unit amount of money per unit of time right now playing, right? There's not that level of clarity of what those rewards are, but if you're looking for like good time to like points farms, like this is, I think, one of the best ones right now, if not the best one.
Yeah, and on that note of rewards farming, I've been told that I'm allowed to kind of leak that Vibes will be joining us for season 9 of Gaps. So there's also that element of.
Oh yeah, so it's a quadruple farm, right? Yeah, so you can even also farm Gap rewards. And well, I don't know what I'm allowed to leak about the YGG things too, but there's in how we're working with YGG, which we're really excited about, right? There's certainly some elements of like parts of the Gap program, etc., where you're going to want to be good at the game. So that sort of being part of Gap will coincide with our next season, right? So highly recommend take this season, you know, the last 20 days. It's free to play, grind it out, see if it's for you, see if it's something you want to do more of, build your collection, figure out how to play. Like, the good thing is, like, you can just play a lot of ranked right now and it doesn't matter, right? It's great to hit Dummy Thick, but like use these 20 days as like learning and preparing yourself so that when you get there, you know, consume a lot of content, all that jazz, so that when the next season starts, when the next Gap season starts, you guys are ready to be at that top of that leaderboard. Because, you know, I gotta say, like, right now I'm looking, this is a TCG in crypto and the top players are not YGG folk yet. I don't know. And, you know, historically, YGG folk are pretty good at TCGs. So I am waiting for the day. I'm counting down the time till I look at this leaderboard and it's like YGG blank, YGG this, YGG that. And so I'm super excited for that. Yeah, you guys got to step up your game. YGG, where you at? You know,
it won't take long, man. We'll I'm sure somebody like Dizzy, who's kind of our world champion when it comes to a lot of TCGs and stuff, once he picks something up, you'll see him on there. He's a super competitive guy and very notorious for just being top player when it comes to TCG. So I'm sure he'll catch wind of this very soon, especially with Gap, and you'll see him up there along with a lot of our other players.
Agree. And as soon as they heard what Fallen said earlier, definitely they will get in there, put their names in the leaderboard, and definitely the community needs to be watch out there.
I'm really looking for it. I'm looking for all those YGG names.
Oh, you'll see it. They'll be making your life a lot harder when you're playing your own games, trying to rank up there.
So I've heard. Well, and also make sure to one thing I want to say too, we are in alpha, right? So you might run into some bugs here and there or whatever. Please just bug report in the Discord online too. Those are all very helpful to us. You'll see our team ships updates really fast. So the more that we know about what's going on in the game, the quicker we can respond to it. And that's one thing we're really excited about with the YGG audience. We're sort of like open the jacket, tell everyone everything that's going on kind of deal. And building together with our community is really important to us, but I'd say it's more polished than a lot of alphas you'll see.
Yeah, and our community loves to report bugs. Like that's one of the great things about everybody here is they're used to having issues because so many games in cryptos are so usually in alpha or even before alpha. So yeah, they're happy to share bug reports and make sure the game gets polished as much as they can once they start loving it.
We
Yeah,
have a question in the Discord. So,
Yeah.
will there be a battle pass in the game?
So currently there is not a battle pass. Like part of us being an alpha, and you hear this from like there's a pack for every win right now, is like our main focus is not monetize this game right now. Like it's great when people spend money in the game. We like that. We're a business, but like our main purpose is like make sure we get our game economy figured out, the gameplay good, like get a lot of players that enjoy and play the game a lot and share it with their friends and create good content and all that jazz. Like, maybe 9th or 10th on our priority list is make money. So we're mostly concerned about like, can you guys come in, have a good time, learn to play, get hooked, play more hours in the game, right? As I said, like one of our proudest things and the statistics we care about actually is like how many games do players play, right? It's why we're really proud of that, 10% of people that play one game play 100 games thing, because that's really what matters to us.
Yeah, it's one thing to monetize the game. It's another thing to know that players are playing and actually enjoying it.
Yeah, we care far more about that.
Which is definitely a good thing to hear from a company that's putting together a game. On that note, we are past the top of the hour. I just want to wrap up with maybe some final points from you, Spencer. Anything you want to plug to the general community about Vibes and what's up and coming? I heard obviously you have that World Championship. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, so definitely check out. We have a full article on how the World Championship structure works. You can qualify to the World Championships entirely online. So there's 7 total opportunities to qualify, or I guess 8 if you think about it that way, or maybe 9. I'll go through them. We have 4 seasons. So starting with season 0, which ends soon. If you're top 8 in any season, you automatically qualify. It might be a little hard to top 8 this season, but it's definitely next season. Since you guys are going to start from the beginning, definitely possible. Grinding it out. Our leaderboard, the way it works, really rewards both playing more and being good. So that's a good grind as well. And then we have the 4 seasons. We also have 3 zonal championships. So there's going to be America's zonal championship, a European zonal championship, and a Asian zonal championships. We've only announced the date and location of the America's zonal championship, but Asian zonal championships will be forthcoming as well. Similar thing, this is a single tournament. If you top 8 the tournament, you qualify to Worlds. It's really exciting. If you win the tournament, you get a buy at Worlds, which is exciting too. Now if you attend any of those 7 things, so the 4 seasons and the 3 championships, you don't top 8, but you place well, you get pro points. And pro points, your top 3 finishes on pro points count. And the top 16 not otherwise qualified in pro points will also qualify to World Championships. So that's a reason to play now. If you're starting now and you play the next 3 seasons, those are your 3 pro, and you don't need to go to any physical tournaments. Those are your pro points. You can qualify, right? If you also go to a physical tournament as well, and you play those 3 seasons, then you have the great chance of taking your top 3 finishes out of those 4, right? So there's a lot of opportunities to qualify. And the final is at the World Championships. The day before, there's a last chance qualifier. And if you exactly win that qualifier, you qualify to championships. But, it's not just about qualifying to championships. There's other rewards and stuff along the way. So, there is an aspirational part to this, but also just kind of a grind to it too. And, I can't stress enough, like our biggest focus has been on onboarding more players from outside of crypto. Like, we're excited to have people who are crypto native, but at the end of the day, like we're not looking to be the biggest TCG in crypto, right? I mean, we want to be that, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to be the biggest TCG period, right? And we only accomplish that if we're growing in and outside of the industry. And so, right now, not only presents itself as an opportunity, literally in like qualifications and that kind of thing, but like, who are you in our ecosystem, right? You can write articles, get them published directly on our website as we do our larger marketing pushes to bring more people in. Certainly there's a lot of opportunities to make a name for yourself, right? Maybe you were not a known player in Hearthstone. Maybe you were not a known player in Parallel even, but like it is very much anybody's game, right? Lofi, who's our number 1 player, is not a pro player from other games. He is a vibes-born pro player, right? And he is someone whose name a lot of people know because he's whose articles they read when they come. So if you want to be a meaningful person in the ecosystem, an ecosystem that's growing very substantially, an ecosystem that is pretty early on, I think Vibes is the game to be this cycle. Obviously, I'm super biased there, but I think once you play 5-10 games of Vibes, you'll start to see why I think a lot of people are really excited about it and why it has a lot of potential to grow and be much bigger.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Spencer. I'm just going to go over a few updates on our end quick before we wrap up here. So just a heads up, guys, we will have another AMA on Friday and another game night with Ragnarok coming up as well. In terms of GAP Season 8 appeals, they are open till the 31st. After the 31st, we won't be allowing any more tickets to be opened, but if you already have a ticket open before the 31st, we will honor that and figure out how to rectify it if it isn't solved by that time. Reminder, Rewards Claiming 4 Season 8 is live. If you are encountering any bugs with that, please open a ticket as well. As we spoke on a little bit before, GAP Season 9 is slated to launch mid-February, and obviously Vibes will be joining us for that. So again, get your leg up by playing now, getting some cards, so that when that GAP season rolls around, you can beast that out.
And let me just double click on this. Is like, if you're wanting to get ready for that GAP season, play now, because right now, as like a celebration of Abstract, every win gets you a full pack in ranked. So there's just no reason not to be grinding. You should be out there grinding those packs.
Yeah, it's going to give you a huge advantage. I know I've seen a few of the GAP quests that have been there. There'll be a few easy ones for Vibes, but some of the other ones you guys have come up with are it's going to take a little bit of some play there and some knowing the cards. So there'll be beginner friendly GAP quests for Vibes, but definitely some more skewed to higher level play. Sure. And on that, actually, we've got a bunch of updates here. I'm just going through scrolling down our sheet here. So yeah, Season 9 is looking to be 8 weeks long. New rewards will be available, 10 games in total for our returning games. Obviously, our premium quests will be there as well. And we're looking at some custom YGG skins and in-game assets for a bunch of those games. So yeah, Season 9 is looking to shape up bigger and better than ever. And super excited, Spencer, to have obviously you and the Vibes team a part of that. It's going to be very, very exciting. So on that note, Spencer, like I'll give you just a final plug before we hop off here. Anything else that just popped into your head while we're talking?
Oh, just play Vibes. If you're not playing Vibes right now, like what are you doing?
Exactly.
Go, download it, play, stream, hop in the Discord.
Post your wins in the YGG Discord. Let's get some friendly competition. And as Spencer said, let's see some YGG names on that leaderboard. Let's go. Awesome. So thanks so much, guys. And we will see you around. I'm sure Spencer will probably have you on for another stream, maybe sometime in Season 9 when Vibes is going. Maybe you can.
And I can crush all the YGG players live on stream. You heard it. I'm calling you all out.
You better watch out there. Somebody's going to call you out for that and say, hey, we're going to come crush you.
Let's do it. I welcome the competition. Bring it on.
Awesome. Okay, thanks so much, guys. We will catch you on the next stream, and together we play.